Over the past 10 years, I've been really frugal and found ways to live off of up to 50% of my total household income. Well, you hear that number and you think, man, that's never going to happen for me, or that might be alarming to some of you. It took time to get there, and I definitely didn't overnight. It was gradual, and I eventually got there and invested and saved the rest. So whether you're just feeling financially behind in life, you have a job that you just can't stand anymore, you're just looking to save money, or maybe you're a co-frugal person just learning how other people are doing it, I'll share as much wisdom as I possibly can to make it as easy for you if you're looking to save money, and share as many roadblocks as I can. People will not understand you, and you will be excluded from some things. The majority of people that you start to tell that you can't go out on a cruise with them or go out drinking, a lot of people will label you as cheap and not kind of understand where you're coming from. And that's okay. You won't convince everyone that it's okay, it's cool to save money. But you will meet some people that actually are grateful that you did speak up, because in my lifetime, I've realized that most people's happiness come from money, and it's relieving to see somebody else. So not everyone is going to understand your plan or care about your plan, and you will be excluded from going out to opportunities with people because they think you're cheap, but that's okay. The people that'll understand are there, and you'll meet new people along the way. One of the keys to getting to lower your cost of living is pay yourself first. And I definitely didn't do it all at once, but I began to pay myself first. So plan to pay yourself first. And what I mean by that is, even if you can afford $20 a paycheck to just save and just put away, do it. And build that rhythm of, no matter what it's going to save, you're going to teach yourself how to spend less money because you're going to continue to raise that bar. So start with 20, do that a couple weeks, then move it to 40 and move it to 60, and gradually do it over time. But just starting cold turkey saying 50% of my income or whatever your goal is, you're going to fail. Do it in slow doses so you don't know and you're adjusting to it. But pay yourself first. And it got to the point where I feel like it's easy for me because like I'm only seeing 50% of my income. The rest of it is just going into a little bit into savings and a lot into investment. And then whatever's left is now what I live off of. Costco. God, I love Costco. The majority of my clothes are from Costco. Like this shirt here, that's Lucky brand. I think I bought it maybe $8, something like that. It was on sale. And I remember going into a Lucky Brand store in my local mall, and the same shirts pretty much cost $40. Not only that, but we buy all our meat there. We buy a lot of things in bulk. I think the majority of our clothes, furniture are all from Costco. So if you're a frugal person, man, you're going to love Costco if you don't already. I know some people might not have one, so BJ's, Sam's, etc., but really lean on them for just all the awesome stuff that they offer you. In fact, we redid our floors a couple of years ago, and we went through Costco to do it and got, I think it was like a $1,500 gift card just from going through them. Now, not everything is a great purchase. You don't necessarily need 5 gallons of mayonnaise if you don't eat mayonnaise a lot, but usually when we're making a big purchase, we'll check first because there's all sorts of great opportunities at Costco. Leave me a comment below if you're also loyal to the Costco, or you're one of those weirdos that even has a Costco tattoo. Leave it below. Looking poor has its advantages. And I think early on for me, I always thought I had to dress and look the part and spent dumb money on, I think I had a Burberry wallet once with like no money in it. The wallet cost more than than what I had in it. But I looked cool, right? So that's all that matters. But about 10 years ago, when I really started not caring what I look like and stopped spending money on brand labels and stuff like that, you realize like you'll get taken advantage of less. And true wealth is silent. Like the wealthiest person is probably the one that looks like they're, don't belong there. And being in sales for almost 30 years, I've realized the richest and wealthiest people I've interacted with are the most unassuming. And I remember years ago, my wife and I, we did purchase a BMW and it's all paid for, but like we got ignored. Like no one wanted to help us because we were in shirts and like shorts and flip flops, and we didn't look like we're millionaires or something. Yet other people were looking at much cheaper BMWs, like fully dressed up. They got all the attention, and everyone left us alone. So you often find that you're being undersold to because you look poor. And that's a real advantage for you and something I didn't necessarily expect. But heck, as I tried less, I wasn't pressured as much. I realized that broke people are the ones that brag about their credit score. Like as you have financial conversations with people, I know early on I thought credit score was the end all be all. And I'm not saying it's not important, but it's a tool to help you borrow money. But what a credit score is it does not tell you how much like net worth you have. And when you become a frugal person, and for me, I haven't taken a credit card out in 13 or 14 years, and I don't owe anyone anything. I don't have no idea what my credit score is. But usually it's people that have no money, like that are just bragging to me about the credit score. Um, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. What you'll learn is like if you become frugal and you begin saving and even investing, like your net worth grows, and that comes far more important than your credit score. So again, I'm not saying it's not important, but typically if someone's bragging about their credit score, it means they're probably broke or not investing and not focusing on the bigger picture and just focusing on their ability to just pay off their credit card bills every month, which usually keeps you just broke. Learn to cook. If you go down this path of trying to save money, you'll quickly learn one of the most easiest ways to do it is cook from home, and you'll become a great cook and save thousands of dollars from not eating out. In fact, we ended up over the years getting so into it, we're now up to like 3 different grills that we have. We've got charcoal, we've got propane, we've got even like a hand-built smoker built in. I don't even remember where it's built in. It's called Yoder. Look it up. But we've learned how to grill and cook from home basically out of necessity. And the money you save, even with the grills, is going to be far cheaper than your weekly shopping or restaurant experience at Applebee's. So we've become great cooks in the process. Even stuff like pizza we'll make on a charcoal grill now. 10 years ago, I was just ordering out like aimlessly, just an asshole with everything is DoorDash and delivery. And now I'd say maybe we eat out once a year, but we've become great cooks in the process and we really enjoy it. There are things you can buy that bring you happiness. Like we love watching movies. That costs money. You can't be frugal and have every subscription out there. So we actually buy things like Blu-rays and 4K discs, and we import them, and it's part of our nightly ritual. So we watch and we spend movies that bring us happiness. If you're someone that likes going to the movies and that's a big part of some of the things that brings you happiness, you can absolutely buy happiness. Even if you're someone that likes a car, like if you just absolutely love cars, like go get a car, just be smart about it. But the key is you can't spend top dollar on everything. So find the things that are going to balance and bring you happiness that money does cost. And you'll be a lot happier in the long run. So another example would be like fancy clothes doesn't mean anything to us, so we don't stop buying them. But if you're passionate about something like fishing, spend money on going fishing, or spend money on driving a car, or just rent a car every once in a while that you really enjoy. But some things you buy can bring you happiness. If you go too extreme on cost cutting, you will fail. It's just like a diet. If you become too restrictive, you're going to miss certain things and you're going to fail. And every time I've got too extreme with it, the next month I usually go way over in my spending. Like if I'm just like, I'm not buying, I've referenced movies. So if I didn't buy any movies this month, usually I find that the next month, like I make up for all of it. So you want to give like micro doses of things that bring you joy and not just go cold turkey on everything. Now that worked for me. You might be one of those positions where you're overspent, you're about to lose your house, like then probably go that extreme. But typically, like I wouldn't have made it 10 years if I just stayed extreme all the time because again, once I go to extreme, the next month is where my spending goes up. So you want a little bit of a balance. That way, you're making this like frugal living lifestyle instead of just an extreme cut and then you fail and then you overspent and you're in worse debt than when you started. Buy generic brands. Anything from pharmacy, food, clothes. Usually those are or those generic brands are actually made by major brands anyway. So just get used to like I'm only buying generic brands unless there's no generic brand available. We go through like Amazon Basics most of the time, like you name it, Kirkland for everything. But we try to again find the generic brand of pretty much anything out there that we can, and we do. Educate yourself on finance. This is probably one of the biggest and scariest things I can tell you, and it's so freaking easy. But years ago, we had someone managing our IRA, and in 5 years, that person grew it $1,000. It was like $50,000 IRA. So nothing crazy, nothing you can retire off of, but it was intimidating to us, so we had somebody else do it. So about 5 years ago, I started managing it myself after kind of reading a book. And what I can tell you is that same IRA has now doubled in 5 years. So it took him 5 years to grow $1,000. It took me 5 years to double it. How can that be? Well, you're not paying commission and you're not paying, for the luxury of someone else doing it for you. And really all they're doing in the stock market is it's a damn guess game anyway. They hope that you fear, like you're fearful of managing it, and they use big words and big stock and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not going to explain which ones on this one. There's plenty of great videos out there if you're interested in learning. For us, we did one index fund. I spend maybe 10 minutes a year, like adjusting it, and that's it. Like it's so freaking easy. But basically, on something like an index fund, you'll earn 8% every year. So all you have to do is just leave it alone and stop messing with it. And it's the best thing you can do. Basically, every 6 years you put it in with an 8% growth, you're going to double your money. So if you started with, let's say, $1,000 in 6 years, you just set it and forget it and check it maybe once a year, it should grow to about $2,000. 6 years later, it should grow to about $4,000. Now imagine when you stack up $100,000, what that does over time. But all the people that manage it for you are charging a commission. So basically the reason he wasn't growing it is his commission was coming off of any growth that we had. So if he grew it a little bit and he didn't do a great job with picking the right stocks, he takes his commission and we're right back to square one. And that happened repeatedly. So educate yourself on finance. And there's plenty of frugal ways to do so. You're watching one right now. This one sucks to say, but your car is keeping you broke. I love cars. I have nice cars. I believe in nice cars. I'm one of those. In fact, I made a video that I'll link below on one of my favorite videos I did where you can be frugal and still drive luxury cars. But cars are one of those things that just depreciates the minute you drive it off the car lot. You dream about the car for months. You're going to get it. It's going to bring you happiness. And you drive off the lot. And now you're driving a used car. And you keep that thing. The average loan, I believe, is like 7 years right now, which is just wild. But in 7 years, you're still paying a brand new car price, even though your car's not worth a damn fraction of that. So all my cars are fully paid for now. But what I realized is like most people, it's their cars that are keeping them broke because it's such a big chunk of their take-home earning. So rather than having, for me, like a car payment, that's when my wealth started to explode. And I would not have been able to leave my job, which I just left after 20 years, my high paying, to take a 70% pay cut to work for a company I kind of always dreamed of working, doing what I always kind of wanted to do, if I still had car payments. Without a doubt, my house would not be paid for if I still kept up with cars. Cars are keeping people broke. It's like one of the worst investments you can possibly make. And the problem is 5 to 7 years from now, you're still paying that premium that you paid to drive a new car. You can have nice cars, but most likely those are the things keeping you broke. Embrace secondhand. Now, this one I felt, in full honesty, was beneath me. I was a high six-figure earner, and I wouldn't dare of dreaming secondhand and stuff like that. But I've came to love it. Now, I don't shop for everything secondhand. I do believe like pretty much most of our books, and we have a sizable book collection upstairs in our house. But most of those books we buy secondhand. And the ones in the back, those are all secondhand. Most of our movies, believe it or not, are secondhand. Things like eBay or even Amazon, like if you're buying something, you can see secondhand on there. We'll occasionally look for places, like Salvation Army if there's a cheap piece of furniture or something. Typically, we just haven't, because I don't spend a lot to begin with at Costco at buying $8 shirts and occasionally Hobby Lobby. We haven't really gone for clothes. I mean, I usually pay $14 for jeans at Costco. So for me, I don't feel like the clothing I need to go secondhand shopping for. But everything else, like, we'll at least check. And again, I thought it was kind of beneath me, but I actually really enjoy it. It's almost like a hunt now. Finding a movie that we don't have in our collection at, a secondhand store for $1. Like, it's kind of exciting. Just because you're approved for amount doesn't mean to spend it. Now, I'll give a house as an example. When we moved back to Pennsylvania from California, we were approved for well over $1 million based on my income. We picked a house around $350,000. It's pretty modest, and we took out a 15-year mortgage instead. Our goal was to pay it off as quick as possible. But back in the day, if you were shopping at like a furniture place, I was shopping at a furniture place, I should say, we would get approved for $10,000. Like, we spent that $10,000, and that is stupid. They're going to give you the absolute max that you can spend, but that doesn't mean you should spend it. So don't fall for that when you're approved for a credit or a loan. Like, you don't have to spend it. The real estate agent, I remember, was like confused with, we were like, no, that's too much house. And it's like, but you're approved. Like, a lot of people won't understand it, and that's okay. But just because you're approved for it doesn't mean you need to spend it. In fact, brings me to my next point. Go with a 15-year mortgage. This is one of the biggest life hacks I found in wealth. And a lot of people will disagree with me, but I don't care. I truly believe the long span of this is incredible. But California, this might not work for you at all, because I would probably need to take out a 30-year mortgage if I lived there. But if you can do a 15-year mortgage, what my suggestion would be is at least consider it. Because when you live somewhere for 3 to 5 years like we did, we were paying off nothing. And we basically like just paid off interest. And on a 30-year mortgage, typically that first 15 years is you're paying off the interest. The back half 15 years is where you're paying off the principal. So if you can do a 15-year mortgage, you just kind of skip all that interest and get down to principal. Now, there's still interest on there, but we did on our house, we learned that by going with a 15-year mortgage on a $350,000 home at our APR, we saved around $180,000 in interest. Now, who wouldn't want that money working for them? Again, I know it's dicey and it's a controversial conversation, but after doing a 15-year mortgage, I can wholeheartedly tell you we would probably, unless some catastrophe happened, we would probably never do a 30-year mortgage again. I know the comments are coming, and that's fine. Bring it on. I'd love to hear your perspective. So if you got a perspective on it, share it below. Buy the right item. So reflecting on the last 10 years, I think typically if I've gone cheap on a purchase, I've typically regretted it. I purchase now with the intent of keeping something for about 10 years, not 30 days. So an example, a couple of years back, we wanted to put our TV in our room because it was easier for us to get ready in the morning and have our daughter kind of watch TV on her bed because she's now 3.5. And the other TVs in our house, so I work in the AV industry, and I'm very picky with like how things look and sound. We have OLEDs, which are not cheap. Again, spend money where you see value, and those are something that brings us a lot of value, the quality of something. So we bought a TV on sale, like a Black Friday deal, and it was a good brand, but the picture sucks. Like it just sucks. And it was like almost unbearable for us to watch. I mean, it was fine if our daughter was watching cartoons, but if my wife and I, who didn't have a TV, wanted to watch something, we wouldn't. And we ended up replacing it. And now that TV is an outdoor TV that we've used once in 3 years, probably. And it's happened repeatedly. Like if I've taken shortcuts on things because it's cheaper, I've usually ended up regretting it, and then you have to sometimes buy it, and you end up spending more money. So what I've learned is buy the right item. And I try to look at something that, like, will I want this in 10 years is usually kind of how I decide. And, if the TV's too small or furniture, like you're not going to have enough seats long term, just try to buy the right item. Don't try to buy the cheapest item. You'll regret it. Credit cards are like chainsaws. They can be incredibly effective, but incredibly dangerous if you're using it the wrong way. The key is discipline. So we have not carried a balance on a normal credit card in over 10 years. We use discipline. So we are very disciplined, but we use our credit cards to pay anything possible that'll accept credit cards. If our mortgage could be paid on a credit card, we'd pay it through a credit card because we're very responsible and we have the points. Now, if you're someone that is good with credit, like you're never behind on payment and use them responsibly, then Dave Ramsey's advice might not be for you, where you don't have to rip it up and cut it up. But Dave is speaking to a broader audience that the majority of that user is someone that is awful with credit cards. So if you are responsible and you use credit cards the way they're intended to be paid off each month and get points, plus you get better warranties and all sorts of incentives. You even get savings and cash back, all that sort of stuff. In fact, we pay for our vacations every couple of years with points. So use credit cards. Just pay them off every month. But if you're someone that it's kind of like you can't be around alcohol because you're going to overdrink, then you probably should stay away from alcohol. Very similar. If you're someone that can't be around credit cards because you're going to overspend, then don't have credit cards. But if you're responsible with it, use them correctly. Just don't carry a balance. DIY. So I don't love doing home projects. I really don't. But I've came to kind of respect and appreciate. And when you're kind of living below your means and you're self-paying for everything. So whenever we do a home project or something, it comes out of our investments or our savings. So you kind of quickly learn the real value of a dollar. But we had a crappy wall in front of our house when we moved in. It's been neglected for years, and we had steps. And we got quotes anywhere from $30,000 to $55,000. We didn't go with any of those quotes. We did find someone that could do part of the stairs for us, and that cost a couple thousand. And then we shopped around. We watched a bunch of YouTubes, but we end up building our own wall, boulder wall, for all in. I think it was like $6,000. So here we were. We got quotes from $30,000 to $55,000. We ended up spending around $6,000 total between having steps that needed to be repoured and building our wall ourselves. And it was a great outlet, and honestly, I'm super proud of it. You walk up to it and it's kind of cool to know I did that. Now I was completely out of my comfort zone with it, but think of like how if I went and was an idiot the way I used to be 15 years ago where I needed the best and look at all these drawings and renderings and $55,000, and I ended up being completely satisfied. In fact, actually proud. Here's a picture for $6,000. Embrace DIY. We even do Christmas decorations ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.